Good evening. This is the January 21st Transportation and Circulation Committee. Thank you all for being here. We'll do a quick roll call. Trish Bartel,
Present.
Jeff Bartel,
Present.
Seamus,
Present.
Ted,
Present.
Meg,
Sorry, present.
and Lynette and Jim are excused tonight. So I think the only one we're missing would be Tom Cross. So I'll put Tom. And announcements. The announcements that I have is to thank you all for serving on this committee. This committee is going to get real important, and we're going to discover some of that tonight as we start looking at this project down in Baywood. And it really takes all of our voices. Oh, here comes David. It takes all of our voices to really understand how these projects impact us. And so I appreciate you taking the time, showing up to work with us on this, because I couldn't do it without you. So thank you, and Happy New Year. And we have a new member. Let me see if I see him. I just admitted him. David Cheney is a new council member on LOCAC, and he's joining our transportation, although I don't see him, so maybe he'll show up in a minute. And I'll get a chance to introduce him again. Let me just make a note. So, oh, there he is. Here he comes. Let me introduce you. David, can you hear us? All right, we're going to give him a minute. Are there any announcements from the committee? Anything anybody needs to talk about real quick? Nope, don't see anything there. Oh, Jeff, did you want to make a comment?
Well, it's not a public comment. It's probably, well, it's a public comment, not a committee comment. I had contacted the Public Works traffic group. You may have noticed there was a whole lot of traffic, the ribbons that were going along, checking things out in November. I was trying to find out when that's going to be available. It looks like she's trying to get it's done by a consultant, but she's trying to get the information available and hopefully posted to the Public Works site in February. So we should get better information on what's really going into MDO, which we were trying to use some of the state park information, and we'll also be able to see a little better of what they're seeing on the traffic patterns going around Los Osos. So you can go out to the public website sometime, mid-February, and hopefully we'll be able to get better information.
Oh, that's great, Jeff. Thank you for that. Yeah, so we did notice that they were doing road counts. They had laid those wires or whatever, cables across the roads, and every time you drive over it, it was counting. So that will be extremely valuable to us. And I wanted to introduce David Cheney as our new Transportation Committee member and council member. And David, you want to tell everybody where you live?
Okay, sure, yeah. First, I apologize for joining late. My computer's kind of old, and sometimes it just takes a really long time to get onto Zoom. So anyway, I apologize for that. So I live I'm in District 1. I'm on 12th Street in the block next to the Elfin Forest.
And I happen to know that David is an avid cyclist.
Yes.
And does some of those century rides that I know Jeff Bartel is fond of. So, all right. Welcome, and we're glad to have you.
Great, thank you.
So first item on the agenda is this planned building on the corner of Santa Maria and 2nd Street. And so I am going to pull up, you haven't had a chance to look at it. I'm going to pull this up and we're going to take a little peek at this project. And let me make you guys smaller so I can, there, how's that? How's that look? I don't have your little faces up here, so
That looks good.
Looks good.
okay. All right. So just speak up because I can't see you right now because I'm just looking at this plan.
And
So, yeah.
Deborah, the one that has all of the plants on it kind of explains it a little bit more. Do you have that one up by any chance? I think it's the one after this one. Or maybe the one before.
let's see, I think it's down here.
That's
That
it.
one?
Yeah,
Yes, that
that's
one.
it.
Because
Okay,
then it
well-
really talks about all of the different areas.
The difference is in this one, they don't have the angle parking.
True.
So let's just talk
Okay.
about the project. This is a mixed use building, a business downstairs and then residential upstairs. There's parking in the back of the building for the residential. Oh, this must be the civil engineer. Let me see, because he might even do a better job of explaining this than I. Michael, can you hear me? I'll give him a moment. So parking in the back for residential, angle parking in the front, and they want to do angle parking here on the side. Public Works is saying that they want parallel parking. Michael, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
You are the civil engineer, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So would you like to explain this project, or do you want us to talk about it and then you can answer questions?
Probably the latter. Bob Simonson should really be the guy because he's got all the background on this. Unfortunately, he couldn't join the meeting tonight.
Right.
But I prepared these exhibits and I talked to Bob today and he said he had an email from Bruce Gibson's assistant that they felt they had it worked out with Public Works, that we could do the diagonal parking. Whether it's diagonal or parallel doesn't matter too much to us. It's just Bob wants to make sure that that area is left open for the farmer's market. And so
Right.
that would control the width of the sidewalk.
Right.
So if
So-
it's parallel parking, I think you get 2 stalls. The diagonal, you get 3 or 4.
Right. So this committee is really all about creating an environment that is conducive not only to car traffic, but also to pedestrians and cyclists. And so looking at this project from more of a bird's eye view in terms of how it integrates into the rest of Baywood. And just starting with parking is one of our biggest issues down in Baywood. We don't have open land that can be turned into parking lots or parking areas. We have to make do with what's available on the street. And so the angle parking is going to be, in my opinion, critical. And the parallel parking is not adequate. And I don't see any reason why they would want to do parallel parking. And if anybody else has a comment, I want you just to unmute yourself and speak up because I can't see all of you right now.
So when I looked at the parallel parking on the one site plan and diagonal on the other, I realized that, the center line of Santa Maria is really close to the edge of that parking.
Here,
Yeah, and so I'm not exactly sure at all, and that may be what Public Works' issue is with it. Is the street's not wide enough for diagonal parking?
well, no,
no,
that can't be.
Yeah,
Is that
that's
right?
not the issue with
Michael,
Public
is
Works.
this the center line of right of way? Is that the center line of the street?
That is.
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
there's our exhibit that we prepared meets the county standard for aisle width and the diagonal parking dimensions. So the concern wasn't, the possibility of hitting a car in a diagonal stall. It was just that it didn't meet Public Works standard. They just want to do the parallel parking, and which would produce less stalls than and like I said, Bob doesn't care one way or the other. It's just he just wants to make sure that there's enough space there left over for
right,
farmers
but
market.
so I'm looking at, you have here, the comments we got from Public Works was they wanted 10-foot wide sidewalk. You're showing,
Right.
and I don't know if this is the latest plan, but you're showing a planter. I don't know how wide this is exactly, and then a sidewalk, and then another planter. And so this is why this is pushing out that close into the street.
Mhm.
Can't we just
Yeah,
have a sidewalk and then parking?
Yeah, that sidewalk could be made wider. Having 10 feet on Santa Maria doesn't make much sense to me, but that's the county standard for commercial zone properties, having 10-foot walks. I think the walk on Second Street should be wider than the one on Santa Maria, but it's not. It lines up, and I think it's 6 feet. But
So-
yeah,
they want a 10-foot walk there.
This is Jeff. Let me just throw a different angle on this. And if you look at the way that the parking actually happens along there, it's actually straight on vertical. Maybe that's just doesn't make sense at all. But if you think about it as, okay, so how is the traffic going to hit when it hits this angle? Everybody has to come through Second Street to do that. A lot of the people are actually going to Beerwood and some of these other locations. They're going to come down Santa Maria from the other direction, and maybe angle is the best you can do, but I'm kind of wondering, and because it's the space you're dealing with, but in my mind, that street, if it can maintain vertical, we're a whole lot better off because you got traffic going both ways. But anyway, that's just my one thought.
I had
Yeah,
a
that
small,
is how cars are parking now all along Santa Maria here. They're parking vertically, even tucking in between those cypress trees that you see depicted on the plan up here. There'll be cars parked all along here. Just stepping back a moment to the sidewalk, I pulled this from the Los Osos community plan, page 7-50, planning area standards. Sidewalks on Second Street shall include a minimum clear walking lane of 6 feet in width and a minimum 4-foot wide parkway between the curb and sidewalk. But on street frontages other than Second Street, sidewalks shall be a minimum of 4 feet wide with a minimum 4-foot wide parkway between curb and sidewalk. So that's 8 feet. According to the Los Osos community plan, which I don't know why there would be any other standard than what this is.
Yeah, we show more than that right now.
Right.
Yeah.
They're showing 6 feet at least. And
Yes, 9 foot 6 inches of the parkway plus the sidewalk.
yeah. So I don't know.
Right. Well, so anyway, I guess the point I'm trying to make is, buddy this up to the building, give us the parking, maximize the parking here. And, I think that, that's what we would like to see just on the parking issue. Because there's more and more and more activity going on. We've got Bearwood. Now we're going to have this really lovely building that Alex is going to build. We have the farmers market, we have Merrymaker, we have High Street Deli, and parking is at a premium down there. So we want to make sure that we're using all of our space as efficiently as possible.
I had a question about the
Nobody-
parking on Second Street. Vendors from the farmer's market park along there. Is that going to be accessible for them?
That's a good question. I don't know. But honestly, farmers market is pushing out against its boundaries. It's kind of wrapping around the corner. And I don't know enough about the farmers market to know if that is okay or not.
I just wanted to say, like, I think if we approach this whole parking question in Baywood from the perspective of assuming that there is always going to be a really, I don't know, strong or excess demand for parking, we're just going to be, we're going to be paving everything or creating, parking kind of everywhere. And I would prefer to, I like the diagonal parking mainly because I think it actually does limit the width of Santa Maria. Like I would love to limit the width of all these streets. And that was the recommendation from the safety track folks, whatever it was, months ago.
Mhm.
And so like, I agree with you, Deb. I think I sent you, I would love to move Farmers Market to Second Street, period. But like, whatever, that's a larger discussion. I guess with this particular project, I think that worrying about 2 spaces versus 3 is less of an issue, as is how wide do you want Santa Maria to be?
Good comment. And since you brought it up, I'm going to just click over to Michael. We had a consultant come to us in Los Osos and do a study of how to improve our safety. And we chose 3 areas, the 2 elementary schools and the Baywood Business District. And these are the comments that they have regarding Baywood Business District. And it really has to do with increasing pedestrian and bicycle accessibility to downtown Baywood and their safety. So really looking on Second Street, that would be to reduce the size of Second Street and put in bike lanes there, provide bike racks, so people would be encouraged to ride their bikes. I mean, this is a Los Osos lifestyle, getting on your bike and riding down to the farmer's market or walking. And so we want to encourage that. And so again, my opinion, your project is a key project. It's on a key corner. It's going to be highly visible. It's going to set the tone for future improvements down in Baywood. And we really want to get this right in terms of where we want to go. We want to go to a place that's pedestrian and bicycle safe. Right now, it's not as safe as it should be. And that's mainly because we're getting more and more and more people. When there's not a lot going on, people could just ride down the middle of the street on their bike. But when there's a lot happening, like there was yesterday, it's total chaos. And that's going to get more. I can tell you right now, there's a project coming in February that's bringing a wine bar into this exact area on Santa Maria between 3rd and 4th Street. So this is just the start of what we're going to see more businesses coming in here because this is a great spot. Businesses are doing very well down here. So that's just my little announcement. So
Yeah.
Michael, take these comments as, you know, suggestions of where we want to go and see if that can work with your project. I'm going to go back to your, if I can find a way to get back there. There we go. So, you know, again, just looking at 2nd Street, you know, we want to be able to create that ability for bikes to be on here and Jeff Krebs had a very good suggestion that the bike lane could be close to the curb and that the parking would be moved away from the curb because 2nd Street is wide enough to accommodate both bike lanes and parking. So that might change that a little bit, but that's, I guess the biggest thing is this bulb out. Can you
Mhm.
talk about that?
Yeah, that came from Public Works. We've been going back and forth with them for quite a while now on getting all the lanes, the drive aisles to line up and different things like that. Seems excessive to me, but yeah, and I can talk to, it's unfortunate that nobody from Public Works is part of the meeting tonight, but
Well, I invited
'cause
them. And I have invited them to come on Thursday because we'll be reviewing this at the council level on Thursday. And hopefully someone will show up. But I can promise you that we will continue to back and forth with Public Works about this project because we have very strong opinions about the things we want to see down in Baywood. And
is that the LOCAC meeting?
yes,
Yeah, that Bob will be there for that,
Good.
or,
So-
yeah.
So,
why the bulb out? What is that? What is that for?
so Deborah, and the bulb out appears in different forms, and maybe the one with the landscaping, that drawing shows a different bulb out.
So
And
bulb outs in general are traffic calming endeavors. And I mean, I don't know if that's what the drive is here. But if you look in Morro Bay, there's several contrived ones that have been put in place to do traffic calming. And, you know, maybe that's what the drive is here, but it's compromising some of our other issues or, you know, things that we're trying to accomplish perhaps. And so,
right, so as soon as we get that thing to show up.
Yeah,
but
I'm
it looks
sorry,
like-
I'm not.
It looks like
finding it.
there are parking spaces that maybe could be added, one on each side, rather
Bulb
than
out?
this in part of the bulb out, because the bulb out is gigantic.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, you know, I don't know. I don't know what you'd use it for. You're certainly not going to drive on it when it's got a big radius on it. You know, like the one in front of us now. People won't have to slow down at the corner. That won't be a traffic calming feature. That'll be a nobody slows down feature.
Yeah, I'll talk to JR, you know, JR Beard in Public Works. He's been our contact, and
Yeah.
he runs stuff by their transportation department, and they respond to, you know, what they want us to build here on a drawing. And yeah, we've been going back and forth on this forever, but
Right.
that the bulb out seems excessive to me.
Yeah, well, if the radius was changed to what you would normally find on a street corner, I'd go like, hey, that looks good.
Yeah,
Well,
it,
it's
it's,
more like what you're saying, Ted, where it's more like a radius on a street corner.
Yes. And even if it's further out in the street, because cars can make that corner, they can make that turn.
How
And
would it
and
work
then
if
you
it's-
you gain an extra couple parking places on Second Street.
Mhm.
How would it work if you had a bike lane though, between the parking and the curb?
So if you have a bike lane between the parking and the street, this bulb out won't change that because it doesn't extend any beyond the parking.
But if you had the bike lane between the sidewalk and, if you had the bike lane between the sidewalk and the parking, then it would affect it, right?
Well, all the way along
Yeah,
the whole,
I don't think that would work.
the whole street frontage.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's part of the logic we've kind of had some discussion on. We're looking to improve all of Second Street. If we end up with a big bulb out here, we've just defeated being able to do anything else. And if you look at all of Second Street on that side, frankly, all it would take is some restriping, some paint, and you could actually accomplish a bike lane right there, as long as all of a sudden there wasn't this impingement right at the end. People have to kind of talk this through. We don't want to get the developer to be impinged on all of this, but it does, as Deborah said, this really impacts a lot of how this Baywood area is going to look long term. And maybe the bike lane won't work there, but boy, we don't want to give that up right now, because I don't see another one possible down there.
Yeah, so Michael, I don't want you to take away that this is a problem we're putting on you.
Right.
This is a subject that we are that we're working on with the county to incorporate traffic and circulation that's not just car centric, because everything that they've done up until now has been all about vehicles.
Right.
And we really want this to be a friendly environment for bikes and pedestrians. And it's going to make our community more livable. And so every project now, we're looking at it from that point of view. And so we're looking at your project and saying, how can we make this project set the tone for Second Street and allow Second Street to be more bike friendly?
Mhm.
When you have angle parking, which is what you have there all along the street, how are you going to put a bike lane in there? So,
Yeah, it would have to go between the drive lane and the parking.
right.
And
Right.
I don't know what the full section is right there on Second Street. But that curb that we show on Second Street lines up with the curb to the west or to the south.
Right. I'm going to pull up this map. Let's see. Can I get to?
So has the county got a plan for any sort of a designated bike lane on Second Street?
Not unless we drive it.
No.
Yeah, I
But-
haven't heard a word about that.
Well,
But here again, I'm gonna read to you from page 7-53 Planning Area Standards Baywood Design Guidelines. Number 1, design streets, streetscapes, landscaping, parking lots, and buildings to encourage pedestrian use and activities and bicycle travel. That was number 1. And then number 4, encourage the use of modifications to the parking standards in the coastal zone land use ordinance to allow, where appropriate, the use of on-site parking spaces. Okay, well, that's about parking. And then there's another one here. Central Business District, more about parking. Yeah, I mean, and it's not just here in this 7 chapter 7 of the Los Osos community plan. Is about, it's everywhere within the community plan that we want our community to be walkable. We want it to be bike friendly. So, oh,
Right.
here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that. Okay, now we're talking. Let's see how much we can get here. All right. How's that, guys? So here we see this is your area.
We don't see anything different.
Yeah, nothing changed.
Oh,
Try again, maybe?
let me see. Hold on. Share. Hold on. Now, do you see something different?
Nope. Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Now I
There
can.
it
Oh,
is.
okay. Okay, so now we're looking at Second Street. We're looking at the angle
Oh.
parking. You can see how wide Second Street is here. There's more than enough room to push the parking away from the buildings and put in a bike lane. And so that's what we're saying about your project, or Mr. Benson's project, that we would like to make sure that we have the opportunity to have as much parking as possible. And we would like to have a bicycle lane on Second Street that would continue on all the way down Second Street.
I'm a
Yeah.
little
Well,
unclear on
certainly-
where the bike lane would be. Is it on the rear side of the cars that are parked there?
So what we would do is we'd ask this angle parking to move away from the sidewalk, from the curb,
Oh,
put the
okay.
bicycle lane,
I see.
and then you would put, like parking stops there. So obviously they wouldn't drive into the bike lane. And then the cars would just be parking a little further here into Second Street, and then addressing Seamus's point, which is we want to make this street not as wide, because when it's wide, it makes people drive faster, and we want people to drive slower. So giving it a little diet here will be traffic calming, create the opportunity for a bike lane, and not lose any parking.
Yeah,
That's our,
I'll talk to JR in Public Works about that tomorrow.
okay, you talk to him
And,
and then let him know that I'm going to be talking to him. Or I'll be talking to David Grimm, or I'll be talking to Jake Hudson, or I'll be talking to all those other people, because this is not a new theme.
Right.
You're used to
Yeah.
hearing from me, Michael.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think, Michael, what we're looking at is we don't know that that's going to work in the end, but we want to make sure whatever you're designing could be easily modified to incorporate if we were to put a line in there. And maybe it's a case of, well, you just have to dig out the bulb out in the end, if they decide they want to put a bikeway all the way along here. Because I've seen Public Works, and it'll just take them a long time to come to terms with a lot of this. And I know you want to move forward your project. We just don't want your project to make it such that all of a sudden we can't do this.
So-
What's happening on the other side of the street as far as possible bike lane?
It's all parallel.
Yeah, it's
and,
all
you know,
parallel.
And I don't know if the street is wide enough to be able to move the parallel out. I mean, those are the things that Public Works has to kind of figure out. They do know we want to narrow this street.
Yes.
They're really, and we have to maximize parking. And so there really isn't another solution to bring a bike lane or protected bike that I can see unless we brought it into the curb. And in the end, they may decide, you just can't do that, guys.
Well,
But
there
just
is
don't wanna lose it.
another approach that could be used, and that would be to designate, hey, cars and bikes, you have to share this. The bike can use the whole lane because you're going to have people pulling out without looking on either side, parallel parked or not, opening doors, And so if you're on a bicycle going through this, it's sort of a gauntlet that you have to sort of keep your eyes open and be able to move.
That's what we have now.
That's what we
Yeah,
have right
But,
now.
but I don't think it's designated that way. It's not striped that way. It's not painted on the street and put on signs.
Are you
Yeah.
thinking of like Sharrows like they have in San
Share the
Luis?
road.
Yes,
Yeah,
because
this
San
is,
Luis has some great examples of, don't do it this way because you can't make a turn. The bicyclist doesn't know where the cars are going to be coming from because they've separated the lanes at the intersection so far apart.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there are sharrows as you make the curve. Oops, wait, you can't see my finger. Make the curve here onto El Moro. I think there are sharrows or signs that say
Yeah.
share the road.
Mhm.
But you could have 3 or 4 of them down Second past Santa Maria as well.
So here's the first thing Public Works is going to tell me, Deborah, there's no money for this. When I say this, we want XYZ, we want bike lanes on Second Street. They're going to say, well, there's no money for it. And I go, okay, there's no money right now, but there will be money at some point. And this is where we want to go. And so let's please make sure that we keep that door open. And that's the conversation we're having tonight.
Mhm.
I got one other question, a little different. Do you have a sense, this has to do with the developer, what the road impact fee contribution you expect this facility will have?
I think it's a function of the floor area, and I don't know the number.
Okay.
Bob might. Bob Simonson.
Yeah, we're really light on road impact fee, and there's a lot of stuff coming in. I'm just curious. Anyway, thanks.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Road impact fee gives us money to do improvements. So, okay, wait, I want to get out of here.
Well, it helps vehicle travel. It will not help bike travel or pedestrian travel. It's totally cordoned off to vehicle travel within, I don't know, a quarter mile or something like that. I don't know what the distance is, or maybe it goes all the way out of Los Osos, but it helps fund some of those projects like 4th Street and Ramona and stuff like that.
Yeah, Michael, please talk to them about the bulb out because that's something that's we don't see it any other of the locations on Second Street, and I don't know why Public Works is requesting that of you.
Yeah, it was lining up the drive aisles, I think, but there's another way to do this, because that's just way too large. Believe me, this drawing didn't just come out of thin air. This has been like a year. We've been going back and forth with Public Works, and Bob's been handling the diagonal parking versus the parallel and the sidewalk width and all that. And we keep getting tugged and pulled, and I've just prepared so many exhibits. And this was the last one. And the last email from JR was, no, we're not doing the diagonal parking. So I don't know. Bob, it's just a shame Bob's not here and Public Works isn't here because I can't answer all your questions. But I'm glad I heard all of this because I can pass this all on to Bob.
Yes, and we appreciate the fact that you came tonight, and we want to support you in this project, and for the reasons that I've already explained. So, do we have any more comments about this particular project, or anything else you want to talk about regarding Baywood down here?
Deborah, we're going to ask about the access to the apartment parking spaces during farmers market.
We had a little conversation, Michael, about the fact that the driveway to get to the parking spaces in back is coming off of Santa Maria. And we were wondering how that works during the farmers market.
When does farmers market occur?
But it happens on Monday. And when did they say they close off the streets? They close it off like around 11 o'clock or something? Someone said that to me.
Yes, something like 11 o'clock, sometimes a little earlier, but then it'll go through 4 o'clock or so.
Yeah, so it's
Oh, wow.
most of the day on Monday.
I think it
5
goes
hours,
till
okay.
5.
Well, whatever. It's a long period of time through Monday, and we're kind of questioning whether how residential is going to deal with that.
I think there would have to be a gap, left open so people can come and go from the
Yeah, but
site.
if they go out, they're gonna be in the middle of the farmer's market where
Yeah.
people are walking up and down the street. The street's closed.
It won't work.
Oh, the street is closed?
The
Yeah.
street is closed.
The street is completely closed.
Oh, it's like
Third
what
Street,
happens here
Second
in
Street is
Slow.
completely
Yeah,
closed.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Bob's thought of that. I haven't heard anything about, what happens to the people in the building during the farmer's market. I just assumed the farmer's market was like on a weekend or something, but I see it's not, so.
No, it's Monday.
Monday
Yeah.
On a
to
Monday.
4:30, and there's 3 apartments, and there are gonna be 3 businesses on the lower floor. So we're talking, possibility of a lot of people trying to get in and out. And the 4 parking
Mhm.
spots in the back, there's actually 6. There's 3 for, 1 for each apartment and 1 guest spot in the back.
Right.
Yeah,
And then you have the parking out front for the business. So yeah, that is definitely something that needs to be answered. We'll be bringing that up at the LOCAC meeting on Thursday about how you're going to access this.
yeah, good. Okay, well, I'll be talking to Bob tomorrow also about this.
Great.
So he'll be ready.
Anything else? Any other comments? Michael, thank you.
All right, well, thank you.
Tell Bob we'll see him on Thursday.
Will do.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna stop sharing. You can look at me. All right. So, can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I have to get to my right page. All right. I got a very interesting email from SlowCog. And it was from a consultant that they've hired. I'm just going to read a couple things from the email. It says, hello, Los Osos Community Advisory Council. We are working on the documentation for SlowCog's Regional Safety Action Plan. As part of the plan, we are creating a fact sheet for each area that highlights some crash statistics and locations for potential enhancement. I like that. I like those 2 words, potential enhancement. For identifying safety priority locations across the region, we are looking to identify a short list, 3 to 8 of locations per area in the region that is highlighted. They want our input as to what we think are the, we would like your input on if you support these locations. They name a few, which I'll share with you, or if you have locations you would like to add, remove, or modify. So, are you ready? Maybe I'll pull up my map again. So we can look at Los Osos. Oh, are you seeing it?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Let me pull out here. All right. So the first one is, well, there's a couple of them that are similar. Buckskin Drive and Los Osos Valley Road, Palomino Drive and Los Osos Valley Road. And then Los Osos Valley Road to Cimarron Way. So that is, where's Los Osos Valley Road?
the south there.
I hope this doesn't make anybody dizzy. All right. So that's down here. These streets down here, Buckskin and Palomino and Cimarron Way. Cimarron Way is down here. Jeff Krebs and I looked at this together, and he suggested we combine those, because those, whatever issues that are in those locations, whether they're crashes or you know, severe accidents, because they provide all these analytics, the number of unsafe speed. Mainly, I think here we're talking about unsafe speed. This is all the same issue here. Then they talk about Turi Road and South Bay Boulevard.
Yeah, back on the,
And we kind of
those-
know,
yeah, back on the first three, they actually don't reference the two mobile home parks, which we've talked about a lot, that they have a lot of issues, that their driveways and trying to enter or exit. So, you know, we need to make sure that that gets factored into that conglomerate of road of some sort, because it's a problem area and they contribute to it.
Well, and I would say, just based on purely the number of housing units, I mean, just from the satellite view, it seems like there's a lot more housing units in the mobile home parks than there are on, you know, Buckskin.
yep,
Right. So, I mean, that just as a reference point, that was one of the reasons to try to combine them. We want that section looked at kind of holistically, because of those two mobile home parks are there, and there's a lot of traffic that enters and exits from those locations.
right. So I'm going to move over to Turi. Let's see. Stop. Have I passed it?
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I must have passed it. Where is it? Well, anyway, we know Turi Road, that's a real problem, especially for cyclists. If you're on South Bay Boulevard and you're trying to turn on Turi, good luck. Right? That's a real issue. So we like that one, Turi Road. That's one they came up with. And then they talk about Perfumo Canyon. I'm not going to get into that. That's really outside of our deal. They need to put that with somebody else. Los Osos Valley Road at Foothill, again, that's outside of our area. Then they do talk about 7th Street. Let's get to 7th Street. 7th Street in El Moro. Ismail? Here we are. This is a dangerous intersection. And it's because of El Moro. El Moro is a collector street. It's one of the only main streets going in and out of Baywood. So that's a good one. But we would like to add, when I say we've been talking about this for quite a while. 3rd Street in El Moro, coming off of 2nd Street, here where the farmer's market is, coming off of 2nd Street, you make that curve, and that intersection, we need a 4-way stop there. So people can cross. We have a lot of pedestrians. A lot of people would like to walk here along the
Correct,
bay.
and there's a
the back
hill, so
bay.
you can't really see oncoming traffic from El Moro, the straight part of it.
You cannot. There's a hill there. Yeah, so I think we have a really good opportunity to have that intersection analyzed and a 4-way stop put in there, but I'm definitely marking that. 3rd Morrow. And let's see. Jeff, you had it. Let me look at your.
Well, our section up near Monarch Grove, and again, a part of the issue for me is SLOCOG is really driven on zero is attainable, and they're still, in my mind, vehicle centric. And although they do look at bicycle accidents and that type of thing, but and that's kind of why I think when we looked at Los Osos and they had those 3 intersections, well, it's because they saw specific accidents happening there. Where we look at 3rd Street and El Moro, well, those are near misses with pedestrians, perhaps. They don't get statistics, and so it never gets on the board. Similar to the other one that now we're going to talk about, maybe, is this Monarch area on LOVR, where people are trying to get across the street, and so it's a pedestrian vehicle encounter. A little different than the way that SLOCOG's looking at it. We probably don't have statistics of people getting maimed and everything else, but it's a LOCAC focus area, a safety area, and a concern. So we've, at least I was suggesting we need to put that on there.
Yep.
And one of the characteristics that the county seems to favor is, well, if it's a collector or a so-called arterial, they're going to up the speed limit as high as they can make it, rather than, oh, it's a residential area, it should be 25 miles an hour. And that's, El Moro is that way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, they're trying to move traffic as best and the most efficient as they can, not looking at the consequences and stuff, I guess.
Well, right. But they're applying rules that, maybe they should apply the other rule.
No, I hear you. But anyway, I think that's why we were looking at that other section. I kind of trumped what you were saying there, Deborah, but that's
okay.
why we were looking at that spot there.
Right.
Can I just ask which intersection specifically you guys were looking at by Monarch?
It was actually it's actually going from Rodman to Monarch. Again, it becomes that section of road of LOVR. It's not intersection specific, but it is. But it's because of the traffic that's going along those 3, that 3-section area somehow has to be mitigated in some fashion. Now, maybe it's a case of you need crosswalks and stoplights. They can figure out what the right solution is, but it's that area that we see this tension for pedestrian and vehicle needs to be figured out, as best I can describe it.
I mean, I would totally agree with all of that. I walk that regularly, very regularly. And it's just crossing Petro Valley Road at any of those places is treacherous.
Right. So, I mean, the solution may be they'll come up with one location everybody has to go go across, but we're not the transportation engineers. And I guess that's what I need to, sometimes we like to come up with a solution, but sometimes I hope the experts can come up with the best solution and efficient solution. We tell them where the problem is, and hopefully they can come up with the right alternative. But anyway, that's where I came out on that one.
Well, so let me just say a couple things. Number one, Jeff is 100% right. We don't always have the crash statistics and the injury statistics to support our concerns. And I remember when I first came on this committee 5 years ago, when I joined the council, and there was a woman who had been hit on 7th and El Moro, which is one of the streets that they've listed here. She was an older woman, and I saw it on Nextdoor that she had been hit, and and that she ended up going to the hospital with a head injury, and being hospitalized for several days. And then when the LOCAC meeting came around, when they did the report on injuries, that was reported as a non-injury accident. And it was because at the moment that the injury happened, they couldn't tell that she had a brain bleed, right? She had some scrapes and bruises, but they didn't realize that she had a concussion and a brain bleed. And it wasn't until later, when she had to go to the hospital and then be admitted, that the true injury was known. So again, it just shows you how sometimes these statistics don't get recorded in a way. And whenever I see, that's the only reason I'm on Nextdoor, quite honestly, is to listen for accidents. And when I hear of an accident, there was a young boy who was hit on a bicycle on 9th Street and Los Osos Valley Road. And I immediately went online and I said, please report this. Because if you don't report it, I mean, Nextdoor is great, but if you don't report it to the sheriff or the CHP, then it doesn't get in our statistics.
Yeah, yeah.
As sort of a new
So,
person here, I had a question. I can ask all the dumb questions, but a question I had is, has there ever been an attempt to kind of crowdsource from people what they're from the community, what their biggest areas of concern are? I'm sure everybody has, particular intersections that they're aware of are dangerous because there's no visibility, but I'm sure other people have things where they're worried about their kids crossing certain streets on the way to schools and stuff like that. It'd be kind of interesting to, I think, to see what people would report as the biggest areas of their concern, and it might give us sort of some data on, pre-accident, the areas people are worried about, maybe.
So that was the study that they did, right? Where you could interact with the map and make
Yeah, on
comments
Los
all
Osos Valley
along
Road.
Los Osos Valley Road. It was a corridor study all along Los Osos Valley Road, and there was input from the community about concerns in all along Los Osos Valley Road.
But that was only Los Osos Valley Road.
Correct.
But so, David, that's kind of why it's kind of up to us to keep our ear to the ground
Right.
and pay attention and listen to what people are saying. I know 11th Street and Santa Ynez is an issue, but now that's supposed to get a 4-way stop. I haven't seen it. They analyzed it. They took it to the Board of Supervisors. The Board of Supervisors approved it to become a 4-way stop. That, and also on 7th Street. So, and Santa Ynez has speed bumps. So it's not like cars are going as fast as they are on 11th Street, cars go really fast. And that's what Ted was saying. That's a very, very highly residential street, not very wide. I don't know how those people get in and out of their homes. So put your thinking cap on. I have to respond to this by the first week in February. I'm actually going to call this consultant tomorrow and ask him, okay, what are you really looking for, and how can I best provide information to you? Because whatever he gets from us is going to get distilled into a report, and it's going to be in some form or fashion used to decide where money gets appropriated.
Is that study that was done on Los Osos Valley Road gonna, or do they have access to all of that information? You're sort of
Yeah, so the
reinventing the
border
wheel.
study isn't finished yet.
Uh-huh.
It's not finished yet, but we have the draft. And I don't know if they have it, but that's a very good question. I'm gonna
Yeah,
put right
because it seems like that's so comprehensive. They could
yeah.
take
Yeah.
information from that.
The other two locations we're thinking about, again, it's roads sections, but it's that LOVR to Palisades to Doris, which we've been
The
working on,
Doris, yeah.
but you
Yeah.
know, is that what they're looking for? Because there's not a crash statistic. The other one is possibly 4th and Ramona, which is a weird one for vehicles and pedestrians, but Public Works already has it on their radar that, you know, if they ever get enough road improvement funds, they'll do it. So unfortunately, they're looking for a real short list, and we got a lot of items, and so Deborah's got to kind of sort through what are going to be the top ones to go back to them with.
So it seems like we should plan where we want to have some strategic accidents.
Yeah.
Anybody who has some junk cars, you know, we can just have some crashes.
Yeah. Well, I kind of forgot about the 4th and Ramona until today driving up. I go, holy smokes.
Yeah, right here. This is
an
so bad
that
here.
was an almost for me. And I said, you know what? Why wasn't that on the list?
I would love to see a little roundabout here.
Yeah.
And that way traffic would just go around itself and then you wouldn't have any of this crossing over business.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I mean, you're going to have to figure out how many they're going to let you have. And
Yeah, I'll
it-
talk to this guy.
you
So
can figure it out.
put your thinking cap on. If something rises to your attention and you want to shoot me an email and let me know about it, that's fine. Cause I'm not going to send this in right away. I'm going to sit on it for probably 5 days and then I'll send it in. And I'll give this guy a call tomorrow and just kind of, you know, find out, what are you really looking for? What is it that you need from me? So, okay. Anything else you want to talk about? All right. Well, I guess we can adjourn then. And I thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you, Deborah.
It's getting exciting, guys. I'm just telling you, you know, I can feel things moving here and we want to stay ahead of the curve.
All right.
Okay, sounds good.
Is it next month or do you do every other month? I haven't been on for a while. I apologize.
We'll have a meeting next month. Yep.
Okay, great. All right.
Okay,
See you
All right.
soon.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.